Hello, and welcome back. So in the last episode we looked at getting those basic characters down and understanding a bit about how characters work. But in this episode we'll develop that further and look at character arcs. Let's get started. Okay, so we're here in the writing studio, we're writing our Ghost Train story, we have the basic ideas, we understand the basics of who we have, but let's look at those characters again. So if we come down in our notes, we will find that we gave them some names, and I wasn't quite happy with the names that we chose. So I went to a few websites and just started Googling for Victorian names and Victorian surnames, especially those I was thinking about up the East Coast, because the East Coast line was one of the first railway lines in Britain. It was one of the most important. So who were the names of the families, the major families that lived there? And I'm going to call, if we come down a little bit, our hero is Robert. We're going to call him Robert Alcorn. And his wife is Rebecca Alcorn. So we picked out a nice surname. And then of the sisters, I think we called them Baptiste at the beginning, but that's quite a foreign sounding name. So let's change that to Horrigan. I'm going to change their ages as well, because now I've had a chance to think about it. If it's going to be romantic, then I'd like their ages to match a little closer. So the older sister, who goes crazy, is 39. And our heroine, who's the school teacher, we're going to say that she is 34. Now, the next thing that we want to think about is what we call a character arc. Now, this is how a character changes over time. And when I talk about this with my students, we often look at the film Aliens. And the reason for that is there's quite a few character arcs, but the one that's very nice and clean to see is the character of Hudson. This is played by Bill Paxton. And Hudson starts off the story being quite cocky and arrogant and self-assured. There's a point where they're in the spaceship and they're going down to the planet, and he said, "Yeah, we're all badasses, we'll protect you," and he's joking about it. But when they get there and things go wrong and they come under attack by the aliens, suddenly he's very despondent, he's angry, he just wants to leave. He doesn't like it. He didn't realize that you could actually get hurt, and you see it in him. He's frightened by it. Then things go worse, and their means of escape is destroyed. He has this famous line saying, "It's game over, man. It's just game over." And you can see the despondency on him. Then they have to sit around for a while, and he starts to feel really miserable, because now he's just sitting around. He can't do anything, and they suddenly discover that they have to leave, otherwise the whole place will explode. Now he's getting upset. He thought 4 weeks and he's gone. But suddenly he has to pull it together when they come under attack again, that new things start to happen. And as he's faced with the challenge for a second time, he suddenly starts to find his mettle. He gets a bit stronger until he finally goes out with his boots up, fighting and battling the aliens. So you get to see this really nice change over time, from the cocky and arrogance to the miserable, despairing, depressed, to the fighting man who's ready to give it all he's got. And that's what makes it interesting. So we want to try and find those type of things with our characters. So if we come back and look at Robert, we know that he's going to be depressed at the beginning. So let's say he starts out as he's a self-assured farmer. Let's say he's a businessman as well. You know, it is his own business. He owns a farm. And then he, you know, with his wife's disappearance, he's lost his reason to be. He doesn't know quite what he's doing with himself. He's lost. And in that, so yeah, let's say he's lost. And in that state, he starts looking at mediums and the clairvoyants, because he doesn't know what else to do. So he's probably going to lose interest in the farm. He's going to lose interest in things in life generally. until he finds some way to track the train. And now he has a mission. So now he can get excited. Now he can get his teeth into something. He's had his whole reason to exist taken away. So he's going to feel miserable. He'll be despondent. What can I do? There's a way to chase the train. Now I know what I can do. I've got something to do, and I can focus on that. And he can put all of his energies, all of those frustrations, all of those angers can be focused into this one task. It's almost like the other things in his life, his farm might start to fail, or his relationships break down, but his life's difficult, but now he can really push on with that one task, and that's going to make him interesting. So once he finds somewhere to track the train, he has a mission. He can go at it with real vigor and feel energized. So we'll see him change over time. Now, likewise, we come down to our heroine, who is Julia Horrigan. She was a schoolmistress and quite demure and simple. After her sister's taken by the train, she determines that nobody else should suffer from the ghost train. So she's got a similar ideal. But what I was thinking is that maybe she was so demure that she rejected all romantic suitors. So it's like, would you like to come out with me? Oh no, I couldn't do that. I'm far too frightened. I'm far too demure and polite. And even though she might want to, so she was kind of being, let's say that she was characterized by being frightened and timid. You know, she was scared of her own shadow. But once this happens, and she says, I need to do this, and then she meets this man who's on a mission as well, she's going to start picking up some of those traits. So once on the mission, let's call it the mission, she starts to toughen up. And this is the important bit. And this is when she begins to find the courage to open herself to romantic ideas. Might be easy. This man's already married, so it's okay. You know, he's looking for his wife. I'm trying to prevent it. We're there together. It's not as if we're having a relationship, but of course it's building that way. And then you could see how that changes over time. Now I'm going to jump in just to a little bit of development, because I did have an idea about destroying the train. Robert gets on the train, so this would be in the climax. Robert gets aboard the train with dynamite. His plan, I don't know if it's possible to blow up a ghost train, but he's going to try. His plan is to destroy the engine. And I had this idea that but the fuse is ripped out and he has no way to make a delayed explosion, and he must throw the dynamite into the furnace, into the engine, to destroy the train but also himself. And I thought this might be nice, because if he dies on this train, maybe he becomes a ghost himself, and he could then talk to Julia as a ghost. They have a goodbye, that they've fallen in love, or they're falling in love, and he has to choose whether he gets on this train, which might destroy him, but he thinks, I've got to do it. I'm going to go on with my dynamite. I'm going to destroy this train. And then Julia's saying, oh, but maybe you don't really need to do this. You know, maybe you could just stay with me. I mean, you just let it go. Your wife's gone. But Robert does it. He destroys the train, but he dies. And for a brief moment, Julia and Robert are together, and he's a ghost and she's living. and they have just a time to say goodbye, which would be a really nice conclusion. And it feels like Gothic romance. That's exactly what Gothic romance was about. So that would be a conclusion. We say that Robert becomes a ghost and has a brief moment to say goodbye to Julia. It's like the ghost of Mrs. Muir. Now, I hope that you're following along with this, and I hope that you're making your notes as well. I hope that you're excited and passionate about writing your own story. But if you haven't started yet, I just want to point out that there's no age limit on this. You could do it at any age. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. Now, my youngest student produced this book. It's called Ambition Falls, and the author, a young lady called Amy Sharp, was only 13 years old when she started writing, and it was published in paperback when she was only 14. And it got really nice reviews, and lots of people came along to her book launch, and people bought it, and it's one of the most downloaded books that we've ever done. So don't think it's not for you. Don't be just watching me and thinking I could never do that. Yes, you can. As long as you've got a bit of passion and a bit of desire, if you really want to do it, we can do this. Now, in the next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about building the world and filling in some of those plot holes. So until then, keep working on your notes, and we'll see you real soon.